We already have the basic building blocks for our tic-tac-toe game. To have a complete game, we now need to alternate placing X's and O's on the board. And we need a way to determine a winner. Currently, each square component maintains its own state. To check for a winner, we'll need to maintain the value of each of the 9 squares in one location. We can accomplish this by storing this data as state in the parent board component instead of in each square. The board component can then tell each square what to display by passing a prop with the value, just like we did when we passed an index number to each square. Inside the board component, we will keep a record of the state of all 9 squares, as an array of elements which are either X or O or null. We will call this state array variable squares and use the useState hook to manage it. We will call the initial value of the square's state simply initial squares, which we will define shortly. The useState function returns an array of 2 values. We have already decided to call the state variable squares, and we will call the state setter setSquares. Now let's define initial squares. It is an array of 9 values, representing the values in each of the 9 tic-tac-toe squares. The game starts out with a blank board, so each of the 9 values of the array should be null initially. That's the initial square's state. When the players start clicking on squares, then the square's array values will change from null to either X or O. The board component thus remembers all the square's values using the square's array. The value of each square will be passed down from the board via props. The value prop will be passed the value of the square's state array at its index. In our square component, we no longer need local state for the value, since it is now being passed down from the board via props. Let's delete the useState hook. Now let's show the value as a property of the passdown props object. Also, the setValueSetter in the onClick handler is no longer applicable, so we'll have the handler do nothing for the time being. Save the file. We have moved the game state from the square component to the parent board component. In React, we refer to this as lifting state up.